Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Brunswick's Best, where Lance takes a look at the greatest players in Vikings history. This week, spotlighting the number 23. Too bad we didn't spotlight number 22 this week after the game that Harrison Smith had on last Sunday, but be that as it may, how about you throw that list of 23s at us tonight there, Lance?
Absolutely. You know what? It was absolutely fitting either way. We either premonized about it or it just happened, and Harrison Smith went out and had one of the best games of his career. For any defensive player, by that means, it stands out. So, with that being said, congratulations, Harrison. If you're out there watching, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you watch and subscribe to the show. So, congratulations on last week's play. And with that being said, we'll move forward to 23 this week, and we'll see what happens there. So we'll start out with none other than Mr. Jeff Wright. Jeff Wright, who grew up in Edina and played his college ball at the University of Minnesota, was selected by the Vikings in the 15th round. Yes, the 15th round of the 1971 NFL Draft. He managed to stick with the Vikings for 7 seasons, playing with the team until 1977. And appeared in 3 of the Vikings' 4 Super Bowls. He started in 62 of his 83 career games for the Vikings and collected 12 interceptions, with 10 of those coming between 1972 and 1974. And with that longevity on the team and with those stats, Jeff Wright, you make the list this week. Moving right along, chugging right along here with none other with a big name from the history books, as all these guys are, but Ted Brown. Brown was a star at North Carolina State, and the Vikings drafted him with the 16th overall pick in 1979. He put up over 1,000 yards in 1981 and then almost lost his career in December of that year because he managed to shoot himself in the leg, requiring surgery to remove the bullet and wood fragments from his upper thigh. He came back in 1982. And though he didn't gain nearly as much yardage, he did score 24 of his 40 career rushing touchdowns following that injury. And for that, Ted Brown, you make the list this week. Moving along with a little bit more of a recent player. It's been a while since he's played, but he's still a little fresh in my brain anyways. And that is none other than Cedric Griffin. Now, Griffin was a solid player at cornerback for the Vikings in the early stages of his career. He was a second-round choice of the Vikings in 2006 and was a solid starter for most of his first 4 seasons, including leading the Vikings in interceptions in 2009. Griffin then tore his ACL, covering the overtime kickoff of the 2009 Bounty Gate NFC Championship game. But he made it back in time for the start of the 2010 season, and then proceeded to tear his other ACL 5 games into that season. He played one more season with the Washington Redskins after leaving the Vikings in 2012. And Cedric, for the work you put in here and for the solid years that you had being with the kind of the abysmal cornerback group that we had at that time, for that, you get the best on the cornerback group of that time, and you make the list for that. Cedric, good job. A couple of brief mentions here before we wrap it up. We got Terrence Newman, who played here a few years back, had a good couple of seasons under Mike Zim. Honestly, one of the better older guys I've seen play the game, to be honestly, and still be able to play corner at that level that he did back those couple of years back. Terrence, you get an honorary mention from me. And then he went on to coach for a year with us under Zim as well. So, another brief mention, not so much. I'll give him a brief mention because he was a high pick, but Michael Bennett. I was never really high on Michael Bennett. I don't really think anybody really was.
No, Bennett was a huge disappointment for what he should have been.
And he was soft, in my opinion. Very soft. Not a very good yards per average per carry type of guy, but he did have some big games for us. I think there's 2 games when Todd Bauman was out there with him, and he ran 2 60-yard screens in back-to-back weeks to the house. His rookie season, he did have over 1,200 yards rushing, so there's that. But every season after that, he kind of degressed in his.
Yeah, and he kind of fell into that Wisconsin running back mantra that seems to plague most players that come out of that particular school.
Most recently being Melvin Gordon. But anyways, now Michael Bennett is in jail as far as I know. So there's that. But you do, if you're watching out of jail, Mr. Bennett, you get an honorary mention this week on Brunswick's Best. And with that being said, that wraps up this week's episode of Brunswick's Best.
All right. Want to thank everybody again for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like button on your way out. Also hit the subscribe button if you have not done so. Helps us out with the YouTube metrics a ton. Helps us build the brand. Helps us do more and better stuff for you guys. Also, do not forget regular studio show Friday night, 6 p.m. Central Time, where we will preview the matchup between the Minnesota Vikings and the defending world champion Kansas City Chiefs. And we are going to do our damnedest to avoid talking about a certain pop singer that is annoying the crap out of everybody who just loves the game of football and not the TMZ National Enquirer bullshit that all of the national media seems to be trying to throw at us at this point in time. So that's all we'll say about that. But tune in Friday for the Vikings Kansas City preview. And with that, you guys have a good rest of your week, and we will see you on Friday.
SKOL.
Ball on the Raider 9. Left-hander Stabler. Intercepted. Touchdown. Jeff Wright. Touchdown. Number 23, Jeff Wright. Stepped in front of Fred Biletnikoff and ran it back. Jeff, in his 3rd year out of the University of Minnesota and a native of Edina, has got to be all smiles, and there you see him and getting the handshakes as he heads back to the bench. And tit for tat, we could have a tie ball game, except, John, I said this should be a piece of...
You'll watch the Cleveland Browns secondary. They will be 30 yards deep, I'm sure, saying, all right, let them catch the football. We're not going to create any penalties, and we'll tackle them with 14 seconds and no timeouts. They got 3 men on the side. That's what they're going to do.
They'll go deep to the far side. It is a lateral. 5 seconds, 6 and out of bounds. They are at the 46-yard line of Cleveland. They have 5 seconds. And what about that from Bud Grant? They call him Mount Rushmore. 39 yards.
The old flea flicker pass is what it was, throwing it and laterally back to the trailing back, and it worked that time. Ted Brown.
Down the stretch. 3rd and long, Cutler looking for space. Intercepted. Cedric Griffin. And the Vikings get an opportunity around.
We got a post on our page that's got over 2,000 likes. That's crazy.
Really?